Hello everyone, and welcome to the Valley. My IGN is 23Viper12, but most people just call me Jake. I'm the server owner of the Valley, which is a custom server that I host that acts as a getaway for most of its members as they look to relax after their full-time jobs or school. The server has been offline for a couple of months now, and we plan on relaunching soon with a fresh new start and a new twist. We are located all over the country, and the server provides a way to keep in touch while still being able to have fun with each other, act as a creative outlet, and honestly, it kind of provides opportunities to mess with each other that we otherwise typically would in the real world. Everyone has different skill sets and has spent a varying amount of time playing this game, kind of similar to what the everyday Minecraft player has experienced on their own servers or realms. We want to keep the server down to earth and show what can actually be done by a couple friends who haven't made this their career. So with that all being said, I want to give a little bit of background into what the server is actually all about. The center stage of the server is located in the large valley at World Spawn, hence the name, the Valley. As we logged into the server for the first time and began our starter houses, we really had no clue what events would eventually unfold. We began to expand and host weekly server events, and eventually that led to the confining walls of the valley closing in on us. We didn't have room to expand. This is eventually what led to the creation of the districts, where we dedicate large sections of land that will all have a set theme. The main idea behind this, at least admin-wise, is to always give the players a reason to get back on the server, as there is always somewhere new to build. At least for the server health, it keeps consistent build styles between the different skill levels of all the members. So to kick off the series, we are going to be wiping our inventories clean and starting over in the same world in the Fantasy District. The goal of this is to get new and old people alike to join the server and eventually make our way back to the rest of the districts through unlocks and other means. The series you're watching now is basically going to be a behind the scenes look to how I'm setting up this series for everybody. You're going to see some of the builds that I pre-make for the season and some of the admin work I have to do to keep everyone engaged. And at the same time, I'm going to be learning how to make videos and find my voice. I'm recording the series as a way to practice before the actual server kicks off. And so I hope you join us as we begin working through the districts, creating fun minigames, and planning server events that will pretty much always eventually lead to chaos. Will we be sober during these events? Who knows? We're just here to have a good time and to share it with all of you. So here we are in the valley itself. We won't talk too much about the old sections of the server, but kind of as we fly around today and gather materials and build up, you're gonna see a little bits and pieces here and there that I may need to explain a little bit. For now, you can see me in all my glory. Hello, that's me. That's my skin. Uh, right now, what you are seeing is we are basically in the basement of the tavern, which is my starter house and the kind of community house where we start our weekly events. We are actually in the valley itself, and a couple things I wanted to talk about before we actually get into the building process is just kind of like what's important on the server. And I think I'm actually just going to run around here and kind of look around the server as I talk about all this, just so you can kind of understand where we're actually at in the valley itself. So the first thing I want to talk about was that we are running the most recent update at the time of recording, 1.21.5. I believe soon we will be updating to 1.21.6. The next, I think it actually comes out tomorrow at the time of recording, but it'll probably take a little bit before we actually get that on the server because we are running a couple of mods and a couple of data packs that need to update before we can actually do anything on the server itself. So for the most part, we run a very vanilla server. We have a couple performance boosting mods, some free cam, shaders. We have mini maps just in case, which I'll show you later. Or not mini maps. We really just have main maps. We typically try not to use the mini maps. But I'll show those all off later, just so you can kind of see the free cam. If I click the right button, of course, kind of see where we're actually at in the valley. This is what the valley looks like. It is basically, as I said in the intro, a very large open valley with lots and lots of different things within it. Most notably, as we circle around, you're going to see a pillager game, the starting house, kind of like the Stardew Farm over here, the start of a museum, steampunk, the cliffside houses, and this big boot, and this little area between ours, and then finally the cyberpunk are the main things you're going to see around the valley. You won't see too much of that today, but you're going to see a little bit of things like whenever I need to go into my storage system. So the next thing I want to talk about is the data packs that we have on the server. We have a couple of data packs that just kind of help us either manage the server or give us some aesthetic things. One of the things that we have is the armor stands data pack, as well as the custom heads. So all mobs will drop their heads, all players will drop their heads, and I'm trying to think of anything else that might. We can kind of put in some custom heads too, just if someone gets a custom skin, they can change their head, and they can put it on, kill themselves, and it'll drop the head. So otherwise, there's a couple of other things, like some toggleable items, such as like some coordinates above your hotbar, or just some things that will help the server run. And like if I type in chat, so you're gonna see my server, or my name is green. That's something else that runs on the server. So there's just a couple of things like that that you'll kind of see scattered throughout, that you might see us use, or really if you have any questions, I mean, like you can always just leave a comment down below to ask what we're running. It's really not a big deal. This is all just a server with friends anyways, so nothing here is really too intense on rules. It's really just we're all really just here to have a good time anyways, so anything that makes our lives easier, we will pretty much implement. So we are currently in the valley, as I said, and now I'm actually in the community house. The community house is basically just my own personal house that I started that has a bunch of different resources in it, such as like available guest rooms, some mail, some basically like a little message board, enchanting table was down there, and then the attic space is basically just a cluttered little storage system of my own, and this guy is also here. So now that we kind of took a little walk around the valley, and I think I've just explained pretty much most of the basics around what we're seeing, I'm going to go ahead and show you where we will be placing the new district. So our main goal is to have a fantasy district that we all start off in, and we're gonna fly over the minigames district here, minigames shop I should say, until we reach the spruce biome with this pretty large lake in the middle of it. Now, the main idea is to have a community settlement around this big lake. And you can see I've already kind of started lighting a couple things up and taking down some of the trees. So the main things we actually plan on doing before anyone actually gets onto the server is, for the most part, we are going to have a path all the way around here. We are going to light up that path and maybe a little bit of the surrounding area, just so that way it kind of feels safer when we first start out compared to normal. We are going to have most likely another little community build, just like we have at the tavern back in the valley. And most likely that will host similar things, like it'll have some PO boxes, or it'll have some like free chests for people to take from. The storage system will really just be for anything that the community needs, or anything that we personally need for the future, as who knows where I will actually end up staying. And with that all being said, I think it's time to finally actually start working on the valley itself and figuring out what we need to get done today. So I will see you in just a second. Alright, so we have a couple of things that we need to get done in today's video. I'm going to make a little board over here just so we actually kind of remember what we're doing. Place that up there. Beautiful building skills as always by me. Gotta make a crafting table just so we kind of have it around this area. I'm going to get annoyed that this isn't odd, so I'm going to go ahead and mine this down and chop all this. And of course, miss my placement as typical. And we will go ahead and place down a couple signs here. Alright, so first thing we need to get done is we need to create a design. Oh, the zig apparently. Create a design for the paths. So, we currently have a lantern design that I've already pre-made for all this. What I would like to do is make a path. We wouldn't make the whole thing today, but I at least want to maybe get a path over to where this bridge is going over, because this kind of connects back to the main area, and it's a straightaway, and it's not, you know, some weird shape. So it's going to be a lot easier to kind of actually design the path if we start over here. That might not end up being the case just because we kind of have limited time, and we might end up just doing the circle first, but we need to make the path and place down the lanterns. Second, we need to build the community home. So another thing that I pre-made before I actually knew that I was going to record any of this was I half made a community house. And by half made, I mean I literally made half of it and then stopped. So what we will probably most likely be doing today is in creative mode, finishing that build. And next episode, we will most likely start on the survival portion of the building. So the next thing we have to do is create the bundle locations. Create bundle locations. And we might actually end up switching those names over. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to call them bundles, just kind of like match what they are in Stardew, or if I'm going to match something else. But for now, we're just going to call them bundles. The main thing that we really need to do, just so we can kind of understand how long the series needs to be before I'll be ready, is understand what bundles we need. Because we know for sure we're going to need a bridge over here. We will have most likely the nether portal, as I talked about earlier, the greenhouse, most likely something small for the community center type thing. Most likely some type of daily spin machine is what I have over there, where once a day players can spin this machine that gives them a free random item. The daily spin machine really just allows people that don't get on the server as much to kind of catch up and kind of be at the same level with their peers who constantly play like myself. People typically just donate their random items that they don't really use anymore, or just something good that they feel like the community could use, such as like vouchers for their shop. And I'll probably just make some type of mini version of it over here. I won't do the whole thing. We'll probably just make it like so you can do like you have two different choices and they're all okay. It's really just something that is like, oh, I got on today? Okay, well, I get something free, of course. Yeah, I'll get on for that. Why not? And to be honest with you, I think that's really all we need to do today. I mean, this by itself, creating the design for the paths, maybe placing some of them, actually building the creative community home and maybe starting to implement it into survival, and creating the bundle locations, that gives us quite a bit of opportunity to work on just different things and for you to get to understand the valley a little bit better, and honestly, for me to understand recording and talking a little bit better. Because right now, it's tough, but we're working through it together. This is why we're doing this now, so that way once we actually start the Valley server itself, I'm actually used to talking like this. So in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and start the path. I went ahead and off camera collected a little bit of materials for us, just to kind of test out a couple things, which you're going to see in this purple shulker box. The main idea is that we want to have a path that leads from the old bases and the valley all the way to this kind of starting fantasy village. And that's the main premise, is we want this village to just be where the fantasy district starts. I want to be able to expand and have like crazy ruins and crazy, who knows, maybe a dragon mound or something like that. I want to really be able to expand this. That's the point of this, is that we can really expand however much we need to. Currently, we do have these rivers here that kind of like dictate how big this area is. And even then, like it kind of expands over to this way and up here. But in reality, there's nothing to the west of this. So we can kind of expand however much we want. So today what I want to do is actually start out on the path just to kind of give us an idea of how this is going to go, and just so you guys can understand my building style a little bit better. So I'm going to be honest, I grabbed the most kind of basic stuff for a path. I might go a little bit crazier and creative and try something different, but for now we are going to try this. Probably not the best to start on the coarse dirt though, because it's already, unless this, I guess this whole biome is kind of coarse dirt and podzol, so we kind of start off kind of easy. Okay, we'll take that. So I'm just gonna, I think we're just gonna start clearing off over here. And I want to get a good healthy amount of blocks here. I kind of look different, but I also kind of just want the path to look a little more natural, and I'm not going to care too much about this, because it's, in reality, it's just a path. It doesn't really matter too much. But I got a little bit of rooted dirt and some gravel just to make it look a little bit nicer. I might grab some cobblestone as well, just so it kind of fits in. And I'm now realizing we can't even use the rooted or the coarse dirt, because that is what is all around here in the first place. So I don't have to use it all. Honestly, kind of nice, because coarse dirt is kind of expensive, and you can actually see a difference between the dirt and the coarse dirt. So I'm going to place a couple of blocks here, and we're going to see if we can get something here to work out. Now keep in mind that along this path there will be different types of lanterns, and I'm sure we'll have different like trees and different bushes and everything. But just to start, we just need the path itself. So after a little bit, I went ahead and grabbed a couple of different extra blocks and mined up a little bit of mossy cobblestone around here. I ended up grabbing that cobblestone, a little bit of andesite. I think I'm liking how this is going, but because of how the coarse dirt kind of looks, I really don't want a stone path with all this. I just think it'd look a little more natural to not have one. So I still want to keep some type of dirt path, and because of that, I don't want to go full stone. But because of this coarse dirt, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes where some of the edges are with the path. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go pretty heavy into either the bushes, or honestly, I kind of like these ferns popping up along the sides, because it just kind of shows that the sides aren't actually maintained. The other idea that I had was to just kind of add some type of spruce fence onto this. So we'll go ahead and go like this and craft a couple of these just so we can kind of see what this might look like. And I use this a lot in my other type of builds, so I don't want to overuse it here. Just something like this, where it's kind of like maybe a little bit of a broken down fence. It's not too well maintained, but it's well enough that you can kind of still get an idea of where this path is. For the slabs, I am going to most likely just be sticking with cobblestone and spruce. Now, the spruce may seem a little unnatural, but I'm kind of used to hiking where there might be like logs across more like wet regions or regions that has frequent traffic. And so I feel like it still looks okay if you want to think of it as spruce. Otherwise, you can also just think of it as really just a new or just another brown block. It doesn't have to be wood. It just all depends on how you view it. And so I think I'm going to keep it in for now. I might end up changing that. And then all these torches I'm placing down for now, I now realize that I don't actually need to do that because I'm going to be building lanterns here in a second. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue working on this path. I think I'm going to extend it over this way first, back over here, and then maybe decide how we are going to actually split it once we come up to here. I'm thinking about doing kind of like a large triangle going from over here, kind of like splitting like this, going like this, and then maybe like one path along the side here. That would give us a fair enough sized region here to actually place something down, like some type of build. And it would also make it so it's not like just a circle and then a straight path off of it. It would feel a little more natural. And then you're also not forced to just go one direction. You can go this way, you can go this way, or you can actually go in the middle between them. So I'm going to go ahead and keep extending this path, and I will see you guys in just a second. After quite a bit of work, I believe I got the path to about where I want it. We are going to try two different things here. I originally put down the spruce walls, or spruce fences. I'm also considering doing some type of stone wall or mossy cobble or something like that. The other thing I still need to do is light this area up because this has been an absolute constant battle. Otherwise, as you can kind of see, I'll go ahead, come up in free cam here. This travels all the way along, and it goes all the way to where our bridge bundle will eventually be. So we'll kind of continue walking along here so you can kind of see what's happening. I still need to come back through, and we still have a lot of detail to put in, and we are obviously still going to put in all the lanterns as well. But you get the general idea of what's going on. For the most part, just want to texture this area and just get it ready to go. This area is going to be a little weird just because of all the coarse dirt and all the podzol that's around here, and also apparently the skeletons that want to attack each other. But besides that, I believe we are pretty much good to go. I'm pretty happy with the design of this path and just kind of how everything turned out. I have a feeling I'm probably going to stick with this, more of the spruce wood. I was thinking maybe the walls could work if I add some other type of stone involved with it, but honestly, I don't really know because I feel like it's not really the vibe that I'm looking for. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and sleep in game and in real life, and I will be back the next day. So I will see you in just a minute. All right, here we are. It's a brand new day, and I have made a discovery. After sleeping over it, I realized that we are probably going to have to change up these signs. I was doing some editing last night, and I realized that the path and the explanations took kind of way longer than I thought. So I think we're going to change this board to more so what we actually need to get done during the series, rather than things that we need to get done per episode. Because otherwise, we're gonna get a lot of shit done each episode, and the plan is really just how much can I actually get done before the season starts, and what can I bring that will make this season a little bit different. So because of that, we will most likely not be building the community home, but what I want to do today is actually find the bundle locations. This, I think, is going to be the most important thing to at least include for this first episode, because we kind of need to see how much we need to do before the end of the series. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the locations of where we are actually going to put the bundles and what we need in those locations. There's obviously going to be some that we miss, so if you see anything, go ahead, comment it. But for the most part, I think we can kind of start with just kind of putting down some signs and some chests. So I have some chests here, And let's see if we need anything else. Honestly, probably not. And I think we're good to go. So the first thing I want to do is this isn't actually going to be a bundle. It's more so just starter home. So we will go ahead and put starter house. Now this is going to be the very first thing that I build on this series. It's something, as I said earlier, that has already been halfway built and most likely will be something we build in the start of the next episode. The next thing we are going to add is actually going to be over here. I think I've decided on a plot for this. This is going to be our greenhouse. Now, the plan for the greenhouse is to basically, I don't want people to feel like they have to go explore the entire world all over again, even though it's the same exact world that they've already explored. Because what's going to end up happening is they're probably going to end up using the Nether or something like that, and we already have locations in the Nether and buildings and stuff. And so I don't want them to feel like they're just sitting in the same exact world again and get bored because of it. And so what I think I'm going to do is to make things a little bit easier is build basically a greenhouse that will have all of the different crops and all of the different saplings is the big one. Uh, for people to basically come and take and regrow. And so this would allow us to actually kind of get into building a little bit quicker than normal while not really devaluing the amount of time spent into collecting those resources because we've already done it on this world, and also we'll be collecting other resources to make sure that that thing actually gets built. And that's most likely going to be just glass and wood and a couple other things. Nothing too major. I kind of want it to be a pretty early bundle that we need to complete just because it's going to be well, it's just like one of the simplest ones. It would be nice just to have all the wood types. The next one that I would like to do is actually going to be down this path, which I talked about earlier. It will basically be a bridge that will connect the minigame and shopping district to the medieval district. If we look on the map here, that's the mini map. If we look on the map here, you can see there's the river going across, and we're just going to split something right about here. You can see kind of like where these paths are going to end up. And so the main idea behind this is once we actually make this bridge, we will actually have access to this section of the server. And so we want to make sure that this bridge is a little more expensive. So either we will have more kind of rare materials, or we'll even throw in a couple of things like, oh, maybe we need to donate a diamond block. Or maybe we need to donate something just super rare, like, oh, Heart of the Sea or something like that. So that way, as you're swimming past this, you have all the Heart of the Sea effects. And so this also brings up something that could also be helpful for the future is if we donate diamond blocks to each of these bundles, or just some type of something that has monetary value, I would basically collect that money, and then during the weekly server events, I would go ahead and redistribute that just by like giving out prizes. So in a way, everyone is contributing diamonds, and it might slow down progression a bit, which is a good thing. And then eventually those diamonds go right back to the community anyways, and so everyone kind of benefits from it. One of the other things that I actually wanted to add over here, which I'm going to put just right over here, is the DSM, Daily Spin Machine. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys exactly what the Daily Spin Machine is if we go back over to the tavern. Alright, so I know I've talked about it before, but here is the Daily Spin Machine. Ignore all the random signs. We come down here a lot between weekly events, and so it's kind of our meeting spot. Basically what the Daily Spin Machine is, you push this button, you hear a little tune, and 3 items will then eventually dispense. And the daily spin machine is you get to choose between these items. So in this case, I could choose between an iron sword, enchanted iron sword, an enchanted diamond shovel, or a key, a trial key. Now, I actually think I could use like a silk touch shovel, so I'm going to choose this. So then you would press this lever, and these get dropped in. I take this, and I press that back, and then it's ready for the next person. And so now let's look what we actually won. Okay, so we just a standard Unbreaking 3 shovel, but honestly not too bad. Most of these items were either donated to me or I got straight from the end anyways. And because I like to give back to the server, I like to give out a lot of what I receive, but I also will take some of it back because in times every once in a while I need a new diamond shovel, and that's just kind of how it works. And I don't mind it because then I still get to kind of have the fun luck of the draw spin but I know I'm never really losing too much regardless. So I think the main plan is going to be make a smaller version of the daily spin machine, maybe make it like two choices, and it'll have a lot less, it won't have as good of gear in it as typical. We might pre-stock it before we reset, and I also might not stock it. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen with that, just because I'm not entirely sure if I want to stock it with the current materials that we uh, already own, and so I'm not going to have to spend multiple hours collecting new resources or making new tools and gear. And obviously, it would be very starter gear, just like, something like, oh, maybe there's one diamond in there, or maybe an emerald, or you get just a standard iron sword, which standard iron sword, when you first start out, that's not too bad. So I'm thinking about doing something like that, and so this one would be a very small bundle. It wouldn't be too expensive. It would basically just be whatever redstone I need for it. That's all we need. And maybe we would put in, maybe it would be like a diamond block or two, so that way I can go ahead and actually stock the daily spin machine. The next thing I want to find a place to find is a big ruined nether portal. I want the nether to be a little bit of a challenge to get to. So the question is, where can we actually put this portal? My main concern with this is I don't want to have it super far away, but I also don't think I want to put it in the middle of the lake, which was my original idea. The problem with that is if we look at the valley itself, we already have the center structure, which is Nord Space, and it kind of already has that same formula where there's something in the middle of the lake and there's four paths going off of it. As much as I would love a central structure like that, I don't really want to replicate that or kind of copy from it. So I think instead we need to find a new place to put it. And I'm thinking a couple of things. I want this nether portal to be fairly large, and so I was originally actually thinking also up on the mountain, but that might be too far away unless we put it on one of these cliff faces, like this one, or maybe back here. The problem is, as soon as we start going, as soon as we start getting higher up, I kind of lose the height that I want, and I don't want to put anything any farther back, like back here. Although this place is super nice looking, I don't want it to be that far away from the little village itself, because at that point, no one's going to use it. They're all going to make their own. And so what I think I'm going to do, I think I've decided, we are going to take this cliff face over here, and we are going to turn this into some type of nether portal or rift or ruins or something like that. Something with the nether portal. So we'll say nether portal ruins. And so that one will be a big project. It's going to have a lot of obsidian involved with it. Who knows what else we'll actually need. I'm sure maybe by then we can go for some deep slate or something like that. Something that will be a little more difficult to actually achieve, which is fine because most of us probably don't want to be in the nether too early game anyways. But unlocking this portal would basically unlock the rest of the nether again for us, which is huge because we already have some type of boat system or some type of kind of like highway systems to get us around. So it'd be huge to unlock that, and so I want to make it a little bit more difficult than normal. So now if we head back to the shopping and minigames district, I know the next bundle or two that we need to do. How do we eventually unlock getting back into the valley itself? If we go ahead and fly over these walls, it's a major pain to actually get over this every single time. I typically just fly. But we also have six major tunnels that lead out of the valley. We have basically two on each of the longer walls and then one on each end. There is one over here right next to the pillager outpost that is basically, it's empty and ready to go, but it needs some designing. And then there's also one on the other side, closer to the cow farm and to Michael's house, that is kind of like a prison. And we need to fill in some more things over here. But the major thing with the prison is this whole side is just empty. And so I think to unlock, there's maybe two different parts of the valley. We can have one split right here and one split right here. We can basically split it down the middle. And to unlock one side, we can do the prison. We can maybe put down like kind of like an exterior wall for the prison and maybe like some guard towers. So we'll say prison exterior wall. And then on the other side, we don't actually have any theme over here. We have a couple different entrances for this one. We have one that is right over here, and we don't really have anything for this. So I'll just go ahead and say tunnel to the valley. And then we also have, if I actually fly down here, you'll be able to see it. We have a little connection point that goes up to Jules' shop over here in this little cave area. And that is another connection point. And so we'll go ahead and somehow have to tie this in. But the main idea is that we are going to supply the materials to build whatever type of tunnel this is. And so we're going to have to figure out that either theme or like just like the main idea of what we actually want to do. So after flying around a little bit, just looking around the valley, I think I know the next location that we can talk about going to, and that would be the village. Now, the village itself would be really nice to get to just because it would be nice to have access to all of our villagers again, and also we really all enjoy doing the raids for this. My main question though is how do we actually make this an unlock? So if we look at the map here, I am kind of considering if this is our starter base or our starting village, maybe having a road that leads this way, and we could maybe pre-make this. Most likely it would just be like a shoveled out road. And then maybe we use this connector here, which I think we actually cleared out at some point. I threw a rocket. This connector here, it doesn't actually have anything here yet. So I think what I'm gonna do is have a gate basically, like a big gate, and then once you get past this, like if you're in the village and you walk this way, you would then be in the medieval district, and then it kind of acts as a good like connecting path, and like kind of connector to be like, oh, okay, I'm now in the medieval district. I should probably, if I'm trying to build something over here, I should probably pay attention to what I'm building, just because you know you want to follow the theme. Yeah, so I think we're gonna make a large gate here, and potentially, especially with the snow being right here, that's super cool. Because we might be able to have like some type of like Game of Thrones, like ice wall or something like that, just something different. And honestly, with the snow, I'm like, this is a whole other region of opportunities that we could eventually do. It's a good place for castles. I mean, like, think about like having some type of big ass dragon right here. Like, we have such a large space to build here. And I think these caves and like the generation pairs really well with the main ideas that we have. I think the last bundle we really need, as much as I would love to keep building more and more in this, is actually just like a decoration bundle. I love to decorate, and it would, for the most part, the only thing that ever stops me is just the resource gathering. And so having a bundle that actually provides maybe stuff like, oh, more lampposts, or oh, that road over there that we were just talking about, now it's also going to be decorated instead of just like a shoveled path. And we could also do something like, oh, we need more bushes or better bushes really, or maybe some custom trees or some wells. It'd be nice to do things like little traveling carts along the side of the road. Just like having some little details that you could see while you're in the air or just like walking down a little path like this one and not getting killed by zombies would be really nice to see. Like, I know I personally would love to make a bunch of little ruins everywhere, so that way, kind of as you're flying over like this, you're like, oh, there's like a collapsed bridge right here. It wouldn't be a bundle, but it would be something kind of cool to look at. And so I'm thinking we can just place down another bundle over here, maybe next to the path, that just says decoration bundle. And then what we could prepare on the creative world is a bunch of kind of copy and pastable items that would be like, okay, we know we need a couple of ruins, and so I'm gonna build like 3 or 4 ruins, and it's maybe something that's pretty easy to replicate, or like little traveling carts that go by. Just anything that's easy to replicate that I could do kind of multiple times over throughout the valley is kind of what I'm looking for here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the decoration bundle. And honestly, with that is quite a bit of work, and I probably only have about a month or 2 to work on this, and with a full-time job and having to learn how to edit videos, I think that's about all one person can do. So I think we can probably call it here. Thank you guys for watching. Really, any feedback on this would be appreciated. I know it's going to be a little janky for this first one, and you're going to hear my voice fluctuate a lot as I try and find like the speed of talking that I need to talk at, the volume that I need to talk about or talk at, all my stumbles that you're going to hear, and me killing creepers and skeletons and things that are way too loud for me, and I'm going to die. All these things are going to come together and hopefully make a semi-decent video. I'm trying the editing process now, and it's going all right. And I know a lot of people don't like it, but so far I've enjoyed seeing my product, and I'm looking forward to continuing. So as I say with this arrow in my head, uh, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Or honestly, just comment really anything. Let me know what you think, and I'm hoping that we can get some good ideas going in the comments for either different bundles or just different things that we can potentially do before the valley itself is set up. And I didn't talk about it too much, but I do have some admin work I will be doing throughout the series as well. There are a couple of places that need some creative work as well as just kind of like a couple of admin things that I need to do, such as placing down like some barriers along the river to make sure that way people can't actually use this, and I don't know how I'm going to do that with either a mod that I'm going to have to install or with something else. I'm going to figure that out. We have a couple of items that we actually need to shift around. For example, in our little parkour section of the server, I need to actually shift this away, and that'll be using creative mode. We want to keep this parkour, but we also want to make sure that people don't die, and since there's lava in this, we kind of want this to be a more casual area. And so I think we're going to make actually a whole, like, we will build up a whole second section that will basically just be like a more like intense version of our parkour here and like have deaths and everything involved. We also need to do a little bit of the world editing itself. We need to trim our chunks because although my map looks like this, it's actually a lot worse than this. We have explored a lot more land here than what's shown. This used to be a server, and right now it's just a single player world, so the map resets every time that we do that. And so I need to go through and trim our chunks because now all of a sudden we have a bunch of different explored areas out here, and if we are going to explore like the end and everything again. In reality, we would just like to have more parts of the new updates involved with this server. We don't want to start on the newest update and then not have any of the stuff available for us. So having things like the trial chambers and like the new gas and everything, just like little things like that are all things that I want around here. And we actually started the server before the trial chambers were released. And so nothing under here has there's nothing above, I believe, 1.20 in this area. And so just kind of resetting the chunks would be really nice just because it's a brand new world. And it's a fresh start for everybody. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Thank you, and goodbye.